Hello and welcome to this Go Ballistic special. I'm David Friel from the Scottish Sun. I'm joined here by our head of sport Roger Hanna and Rangers legend Sunsport columnist Kris Boyd. Kris, it's Halloween today.
And you've still got you've got a mask on.
I've still got my mask on. Philippe Clement's future, it's under scrutiny, under the spotlight. You had your say last night on Sky Sports. Very, very frank in what you feel. Almost 24 hours on. Easy for me to say. What's your stance on Philippe Clement?
I still say the same, and I think you can. I think when the excuses are, give me time to improve, exactly the way it's been. You only need to rewind a couple of months ago to it was going to be better come October. It's not any better. Hence the reason why that 8 of that starting 11 was already in the building when Philippe Clement arrived, which tells me that the recruitment and the signings from the summer haven't been good enough. And you've got to question the lineup last night. I mean, I don't know what Roger, what you think as well. That I feel as if Jefty's actually been doing okay in recent weeks. He's probably been one of the brighter sparks. And then you go to, Pataudry. Yeah, it's a difficult game, but he's left out. You then bring in another full-back who's right-footed. The whole balance of that Rangers team last night was there was no balance basically. And I know people will say, you should be able to play in different positions. But if everybody's coming in the pitch and it just narrows the pitch off, there's nobody going out on the outside. You're coming into tighter areas. It's very difficult to play. And even when you're coming in and the ball's out of the line or whatever it may be, they're not in front of the player. It'll go to the feet because of it's not your natural foot as such to open up and play, so people are having to take extra touches, and it pretty much sums Rangers up right now. Everything's just slow and lethargic.
Everything, David, everything's erratic. The results, and we're going to touch on this in a minute, the results are erratic, the performances are erratic, the team selection from Philippe Clement is erratic, and the manager's post-match quotes now are becoming equally erratic. At Kilmarnock, it was the fault of the pitch. At St Mirren, when he scraped through at the weekend, he was trying to convince the Rangers fans they won comfortably. And then last night, to say it was one of Rangers' best performances of the season, to talk about the offside decision and things like that, it's not what Rangers fans want to hear. And I think he is erratic in everything he's doing at the minute, and that's not a good thing.
To talk about the post-match stuff, if you can take a bad situation and make it even worse, it felt to me like Philippe Clement almost poured fuel on the fire. Why is he doing that? Is he trying to deflect? Does he actually believe that? Is that even more worrying if he does believe that?
If he does believe it, is more worrying. There's no doubt about that. I mean, that's a definite. But I just look at, it's not the first, even Wednesday night, it's not the first time we've seen these type of outbursts. And I've got to be honest, I think, my colleague, at Sky, Luke Shanley, I thought his interview was very good and asked the correct questions and probed when he needed to probe. And there was a reaction that, a lot of people would actually be looking and listening to and thinking, this is a man that's under severe pressure. To then start questioning the interviewer, what do you think? It's irrelevant. Nobody cares. You're the Rangers manager. You're going to have to front these up. And, you've got a lot of fans travelling north last night that would have been bitterly disappointed with the performance. Listen, for 20 minutes in the second half, you kind of felt as if Rangers got to go, and maybe there was a little chink of light there where you thought they can maybe go in and nick us. But I'll say it again, I just think it's papering over the cracks. We've been in this movie before where Rangers have been able to nick results and all of a sudden it covers up everything. The performances have not been good enough, and the progression, and we keep hearing, we're going to get better, we are getting better and stuff. It's not the case.
Yeah, and it's amazing. We're back around to League Cup semi-final weekend. How often have Rangers been there? Clement came in last year and won a League Cup semi-final. Prior to that, I think David McCallum was in charge for one when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst sat in the bench. You go back 7 years, Pedro Caixinha sacked after a League Cup semi-final defeat to Motherwell. I think the same fate will await Philippe Clement if Rangers do not win on Sunday. If Rangers lose to Motherwell at Hampden, I think it might be all over.
Do you think he can salvage his job now, though? Do you think it's going too far, or do you think there's a way out of this?
I think when the fans, when you go back to Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, who was able to take Rangers to a Europa League final, deliver the Scottish Cup, and was sacked a few months later. He had some credit in the bank. Michael Beale, that was just a total disaster, that period of time. Philippe Clement has came in and delivered a trophy, but you've got to look at it since then. There was an opportunity to win the league, and I know it's all ifs and buts, and we're going to end up sounding like Philippe Clement if this had happened, if that had happened. But you look at the games that Rangers had to win a league title. Ross County failed, Motherwell failed, and Dundee failed. All of a sudden, it's just snowballed from there. Yeah. And now, listen, I think there's been other things that, has contributed to it. He does speak about having to trim the squad and cut it back. I totally get that. If you're losing to Celtic, if you're losing European games, I totally get it. Rangers have won 2 of their 3 European games. Yeah. Yes, humbled against Lyon, but the alarming thing would be you are the ones that's been absolutely destroyed and ripped apart from, an Aberdeen team, a Kilmarnock team, even Hearts at the start of the season as well. 0-0, but when you look at what's transpired at Tynecastle since, they've obviously lost their manager as well and been on a really poor run. If you look at that, it was another 2 points drop for Rangers back then. And the thing is, those clubs that were mentioned, their budget's absolutely nowhere near Rangers.
You drew a comparison in your column the other week in the Scottish Sun, Philippe Clement and Eric Ten Hag. And it was a really good comparison because Ten Hag, who was sacked at the start of this week, you've known for months and months and months he's not going to do at Manchester United. And they kicked the can down the road and they won an FA Cup and that bought them a wee bit more time. But I don't think anyone was ever convinced that Eric Ten Hag was going to be the answer. And they've ended up kicking the can so far down the road that they've got to the middle of the season. They're 14th in the English Premier League. They haven't won a game in Europe all season. And now they change. Mm-hmm. They've been far better off just biting the bullet 6 months ago and getting rid then and having a proper summer to get a new manager. Rangers are in danger of doing the same. I'm not convinced Clement is going to emerge through this period and suddenly transform Rangers into a better team. I think if results get any worse in the next couple of games, the next game perhaps, there might need to.
I think when you look at, Ten Hag obviously had a longer period in charge, and listen, for Philippe Clement to be given the start of the season was the right thing to do. There's no doubt. If you go back to last season, Rangers, they had got results. In terms of performances, I think you were winning games of football, but it wasn't convincing. In terms of, I've heard a lot of people now speaking about the style of play because Rangers started to lose games. But even if I go back then, I don't really think it was. There was a lot of fans leaving saying, we've won, but it wasn't really great. It doesn't matter, you've won the game. Now all of a sudden, you're not winning games and the style of play is still the same. That's when the problems start to come. Yeah. And Philippe Clement has been able to bring in his own players, along with Niels Coppin, who, by the way, deserves a lot of criticism as well because the recruitment has been nowhere near good enough. If Ross Wilson can, we can criticise him, then what's in charge right now deserves to be criticised as well because I get the fact that, you're cost cutting and the type of money that you might be spending on players has dropped from what you were spending previously. But Rangers have still spent over £3-4 million on a few players.
Very much so. If you look at some of the comparisons of the signings, Danilo cost more money than Kyogo cost Celtic. Yeah. Mohamed Diamande cost twice what Matt O'Reilly cost Celtic at the time. You can go through several of these, Oscar Cortez, the deals that, they're obliged to buy this, will cost more, I think, than any of the Celtic wingers. So they're spending money, but they're not getting any value for that money. And for Clement, Clement the other night was saying, we had 7 newcomers against St Mirren, and that was part of the issue when we had, 7 guys settling. I think Jimmy Tillin's Aberdeen team had 6 newcomers. They've managed to hit the ground running, so it's not convincing at all.
You hear a lot of style of play, identity, or a lack of with Philippe Clement. For those who think Rangers, the board should hold on there, give him a bit more time, is that the thing that's killing him in the sense that there is no clear identity, there is no clear style of play? But Jimmy Tillin, to mention Roger's point there, Aberdeen have bedded in new players and have a clear identity and a clear way of playing. How do Rangers play?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. I don't look at... I've touched on this for a number of weeks now. Rangers, in terms of what they're spending and what they have spent and the players they've got, they should be doing a lot better. Yeah. And by doing better, you should be controlling games of football. Listen, nobody's asking you to, dominate games of football the way that Celtic have because they're a well-oiled machine and the players are brought in have, fit into that system. I just feel as if Rangers just went and grabbed players. You're not trying to tell me that when, you have to get rid of players. You're not trying to tell me when Connor Golson was you can go that proper was top of the list. Or probably even on the list, shall we add. The fact that the centre-back pairing right now of Suter and Balogun is, seems to be your number one choice right now. Is alarming. It is alarming, and that's nothing to do with Suter. And you brought in players that have just not been good enough.
Yeah, if
you've told your captain he can more or less go, and then all of a sudden you've the whole Hadji situation. Just everything there just adds into the fact that when you're losing games of football, everything's scrutinised. But I mean, I've been involved in it. And a lot of times when you're winning games of football, it covers up everything. But as soon as things start to go south, you've got a lot of questions to answer.
Fans are even picking up on things like Clement saying, "Give us till October and it will be better." Got to October and they're worse. Clement saying, "I'll clear up this injury problem." I think at the weekend they were without 7 players and rested another 2. The injuries are actually worse than they were last season. Yeah. So the fans are picking up on things like this, and they're bamboozled as to what is actually going on in the football department. And a lot of them will say, "Oh, there's not a permanent chairman. There's not a chief executive there at the football club. There's not a director of football." The fact that there's not a chief executive there's nothing to do with Aberdeen scoring 2 goals against them at Pittodrie and missing a penalty and hitting the post and dominating for long spells of the game. Philippe Clement and the players need to take a whole lot more responsibility.
I've been in this movie before. When you go back to the Paul Le Guen era, when it was you kind of got the feeling that there was only going to be one outcome.
Yeah.
And when you start, and I know it wasn't as clear as it was his fault for the goal. There was after the Kilmarnock game, there was a few players that will probably be sitting there scratching their head thinking, "Oh, he's talking about me." Mm-hmm. Jack Butland for one. You called Jack Butland, and then obviously there was a few other ones. And you're like, when you start going after individuals, all of a sudden it starts to turn. And then that last night was one of our better performances. We can all see that Rangers were. Yeah. I mean, if that is one of your better ones, I wouldn't like to see the real bad ones.
Well, some of the real bad ones you have seen. This miserable run, David, you were talking about it earlier. Is it 2 wins in 10?
2 wins in 10
away from home.
Since the last defeat in April.
2 goals this season away from home.
2 goals in 5 games away from home.
How does that? Because we're speaking about bigger picture, about the future of the manager. How do Rangers arrest that form away from home? Because they don't tend to win away games.
Well, I will say, and I mean, when you look at, I'm not making excuses, but if you take, Rugby Park, Tynecastle, Celtic Park, Tannadice and Pittodrie, it's probably the 5 hardest grounds to go to in Scotland. But it's Rangers, it still needs to be better. Mm-hmm. It is difficult grounds, I get that, but, Dundee United, you won 1-0, you won the game, but they've just been promoted.
Yeah.
You look at Kilmarnock, and after the lifeline you were given 24 hours before that game, go and put on a performance. I mean, it was toothless. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The start of the season with Hearts, I mean, listen, I get you can go to Tynecastle and draw a game, but it was just Celtic absolutely destroyed. Started the game 5-10 minutes, but that's Rangers. There's periods of time where you think, "Oh, yeah, it looks all right here." And by the way, the exact same with Pittodrie last night. For 10-15 minutes of that second half, it looked as if, Rangers are on it here. They can maybe turn this around, but all of a sudden, there's always that lack of concentration, that lack of discipline from the players. They'll go and do something, and Rangers are punished for it. And you can blame, they've not getting much luck. We're not getting this. We're not getting that. And it's the exact same with Aberdeen. Are carried a lot of luck. For Shayden Morris to run 10-15 yards to get yourself in a position to anticipate that coming back off the post or off the goal, that's no luck. Mm-hmm. That's where you're going to be. And you look at Bajrami passing on, Devlin, there's nobody there for him to pass it on. Raskin, go and get tight in the touchline. Go and stop the cross coming in. These are small things that all of a sudden become big things because Rangers are losing goals off them.
Clement's obviously in the firing line at the minute, under intense scrutiny more than ever before. Is he due more from the players, or is this the way the players are? Can the players be any better than this? You look at some of the individuals in that squad, they're international players. Yeah. They should be better on paper than the Aberdeen 11 or the Kilmarnock 11 or the St Mirren 11. Is he due more from them?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the players need to do more. But as I said, I know I went kind of off track there, but I've been in this movie before regarding Paul Le Guen, when you're looking at it and everybody's, the managers, it's a good performance. It's a good, we've had more entries into the box, we've had more opportunities. You use that type of material for in the dressing room, You know, if you're trying to get through to players like, we ain't that far away. You know, we're knocking on the door, we're creating opportunities. I mean, players, maybe not so much back in the day, but now there is access where they can see things, so it's maybe not as much, it's not as easy to try and gloss over it with the players because they can see it. But if you go back to years ago, when you're using that stuff, that material, all of a sudden it plants a seed in the player's heads. Yeah, we're not that far away, we just need to keep going. But Philippe Clement's coming out and telling the world that we're not that far away. And everybody can see that Rangers are worse than where they were.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at it right now and, listen, I mean, I think the players will be hurting. They will be hurting. I mean, you don't go into a game to actually lose it, but there is small things within a game that doesn't seem to be working for Rangers.
Do you feel the Rangers board will, while holding their nerves for the moment, will be starting to think who are the runners and riders?
They have to be. But the conversation the other week, you know, Philippe Clement got a new contract at the start of the year, but Stephen Naismith got a new contract at the start of the year, and eventually, when results go wrong, there reaches a point of no return. Stephen Naismith went after bottom of the league today. If results keep going badly for Philippe Clement, he will just reach that same place. It's football, you know how it operates. And the Rangers board, I know there's not a permanent chairman, I know there's not a chief executive, but the people running Rangers, and they will be hoping today that this doesn't happen and they're not faced with this decision on Sunday night. They will know that there could be a change of manager. They might have to make a change of manager, and there's bound to be a last summer, because if there's not a last summer, they're not doing their job properly.
I always say,
Sunday.
Yeah, but I always say, to touch on what Roger's saying as well, if you're running a football club properly, and by the way, we're sitting in here today, and you've touched on it, Roger's ahead of it. Somebody's got to be looking to see who's going to replace you.
A pathway.
You know, when you get your bus pass, I know it'll not be long, but when you get your bus pass, who's going to replace you? And a football club, it's got to be the same. You've got to, when you have got a manager in place, because it's two things happen in football. You either get a manager that does really well and somebody comes and takes him, or you get a manager that doesn't do well and you have to replace. You have got to have a contingency plan of where you're going as a football club. You've got to. And if you don't have it, then that's the powers that be's fault. Because right now, you know, in terms of what you're about to ask there, where the Rangers go here, I don't know. We don't know. Derek McInnes would be obviously one that jumps out because of, in terms of Scotland, and I think Rangers do need to get back to basics. I really do. You know, but I don't think Derek will be one. He's not going to come out and say anything. He's in charge of another Scottish Premiership team, and he's not going to get drawn in it. He's obviously had his connection with Rangers in the past, and as a manager as well. You know, obviously been offered the job before and decided to turn it down for whatever reason. But I mean, he would be the one that would probably jump out at you straight away in Scotland. But Rangers, even right now when it's struggling, they're still a huge organisation. They're still a worldwide appeal. You know, we've seen. When Michael Beale lost his job, some of the names that were branded there, the big names throughout the world of football. You just never know what could come. But you know, I get this whole thing of, you know, Rangers, they can't keep sacking managers, but you can until you get the right one. Yeah. You've got to until you get the right one.
And in terms of Sunday, Rangers strong favourites still. Can we say it's going to be a straightforward afternoon for them?
No. I mean, when was the last time, you know, Rangers did have a straightforward? I mean, you know, you look at the Ross County game at Hampden, and the game was comfortable, but Ross County had a couple of wee opportunities before Rangers then went and got it. But I think this is you know, where this Rangers team's at right now. If they can get, you know, 2, 3, 4. Go, if they can get, you know, they'll take them, and then it looks comfortable. The European night, it looked really comfortable. But if they lose one, all of a sudden they're again.
That's the thing I was going to say. Stuart Kettlewell will be telling Motherwell, go and get the first goal. Yeah. Go and get the first, because the whole thing can change if you get the first goal. The great result for them, winning at Tannadice last night. The rest of the couple of players, Paul Andy Halliday will be choking to have a go at Rangers in this semi-final. Lennon Miller will take the captain's armband because of the injury to Stephen O'Donnell. He will want to put in a big performance at the National Stadium in a National Cup semi-final. I think Tawanda Masparisi scored a couple of goals last night. He looks as if he'll get a start. So Motherwell will carry a threat. You mentioned earlier their win at Ibrox in February when Dan Casey get the winner. They will know they can beat Rangers. I think for Philippe Clement's long-term job security, Rangers can't afford to allow that to happen.
Kris, Roger, thanks a lot for your time. We'll be back on Monday with another Go Ballistic. I'll let the boys go away and get the Halloween costumes on. Thanks for watching.